Hello dear learners. Today we are going to discuss few of the MCQs from pharmaceutical chemistry. We are on practical part now. From practical we are going to cover identification test today. As we all know, chemistry practical is divided into four sections. First is introductory and about the physical constant. Then second one is about the systematic qualitative analysis. Then third one is about the identification test, and fourth one is about the synthesis part. So previous to this we have seen few of the MCQs on the synthesis, okay, then qualitative analysis, and today we are going to cover the questions which can be asked in the MSBT examination, or they can be asked in various competitive exams also, even for from pharmaceutical chemistry for identification test. So to start with the question 1 from part 1, the question is the identification tests which are generally performed, with the purpose of what? Whether they are performed with the purpose to verify that the article is in accordance with the label on the container. That means whatever the label is there on the container, we are supposed to verify that the article is in accordance with the label given or not. Whether it is the same compound which is mentioned in the label on the container, whether to establish the absolute proof of identity, or to find out whether the article is being mislabeled or substituted. So if the test complies, then it passes. So it establishes the absolute proof of identity and we can verify that the label claimed is correct. Wherein if it fails, then we can find out that whether this sample is adulterated, it is substituted, or it is mislabeled. That means by mistakenly, whether it is labeled wrongly or whether it is substituted. So the identification tests are done with the purpose to dash. So the correct answer is, it is all of them. All the above purposes can be served by identification test. Next question. As you can see, the identification tests are carried out with the various color reactions, precipitation reactions, as well as sophisticated techniques like spectroscopic methods, like your IR is there. Okay, so various methods are there for identification test, from which spectroscopic methods are there, color reactions are there, precipitation reactions are there, and so on. Next question is, the literature sources which should be considered for the identification test include dash. Whether the literature sources required to perform the identification test include IP, that is Indian Pharmacopoeia when it is confined to India, then SIMS, MIMS, or all of them. The correct answer is, it is all of them. It includes Indian Pharmacopoeia, SIMS, as well as MIMS. As you can see, Indian Pharmacopoeia, okay, then MIMS and SIMS, these are also the literature references, the literature sources, like monthly index of medical specialties, which is MIMS, and current index of medical specialties, which is SIMS. So this is the monthly edition. As you can see here, it is mentioned December 2015, and current index of medical specialties, like you can see, it is for 1920. Okay, and this is Indian Pharmacopoeia. So all these literature should be referred for the identification test, wherein the tests are mentioned in the Indian Pharmacopoeia, and further part of the identification test wherein that compound, when it is identified, to verify, to search the brand names, various dosage forms of this compound, we can use SIMS and MIMS. Okay. Next question is, organoleptic description of the compound include dash. Whether it includes nature, whether it includes color, whether it includes odor, or all of them. The correct answer is, it is all of them, because organoleptic properties or organoleptic description of the compound include why all these, because whatever can be perceived by your sense organs like nose, okay, skin, ears, eyes, etc. So all whatever we can sense includes the organoleptic properties of the compound. So it is taste, color, odor, nature and all. Next question is, when 1 gram of solute is soluble in less than 1 milliliter of the solvent, the compound is dash. Means when the solute, 1 gram of solute is soluble in solvent which is even less than 1 ml. So the category includes whether it is very soluble, whether it is freely soluble, whether it is only soluble or sparingly soluble. The correct answer is it is very soluble. Though according to the solubility chart, these are the descriptive terms. So in practicals I have told you the trick regarding this. So it is VF, okay, then S cube and VI. VF, S cube and VI. VF is V for very soluble, F for freely soluble, then S cube is for soluble, sparingly soluble, slightly soluble. Again VI is for very slightly soluble and I is for insoluble or practically insoluble. So when this solvent required is even less than 1 ml to dissolve 1 gram of the solute, the term is very soluble. That means you can say when the solute is soluble in the solvent even in less than 1 ml of the solvent, the term is very soluble. And then moving towards the next question, when 1 gram of solute is soluble in 1 to 10 milliliter of the solvent, the compound is dash. Whether it is very soluble, whether it is freely soluble, whether it is soluble or sparingly soluble. The correct answer is it is freely soluble. When 1 gram of solute is soluble in the solvent 1 to 10 ml, the compound can be called as it is freely soluble. Again, according to the solubility chart, if you will see, it is freely soluble. So it is from 1 to 10 ml of the solvent. So this solubility chart is really very important from the competitive exam point of view, wherein the terms ka trick we have seen that VF, S cube, VI. VF, S cube, VI. And the solvent ka criteria is, first it is less than 1, then 1 to 10, 10 to 30, 30 to 100, 100 to 1000, 1000 to 10,000 and more than 10,000. So this way you are supposed to remember less than 1, then उसके बाद आता है 1 to 10, फिर उसके बाद आता है 10 to 30, फिर 10 to 30 के बाद है 30 to 100, 100 to 1000, 1000 to 10,000 and more than 10,000. So first you are supposed to write down all these volumes and then you are supposed to write down VF, S cube, VI. So this way it is very easy to remember this solubility chart and the question can be asked in any of the competitive exams. So it is really very important. Next question is, when 1 gram of solute is soluble in 10 to 30 ml of the solvent, the compound is dash. Whether it is very soluble, whether it is freely soluble, whether it is soluble or sparingly soluble, the correct answer is it is soluble. When 1 gram of solute is soluble in the solvent from 10 to 30 ml, the description term is soluble. You can call that the compound is soluble in that particular solvent. Next question is, when 1 gram of solute is soluble in 30 to 100 milliliter of the solvent, the compound is dash. Whether it is very soluble, freely soluble, soluble or sparingly soluble, the correct answer is it is sparingly soluble. The solvent required, as you can see here, from 30 to 100, it is sparingly soluble compound. Next question is, when 1 gram of solute is soluble in 100 to 1000 ml of the solvent, the compound is dash. Whether it is very soluble, freely soluble, slightly soluble, or sparingly soluble. So, the answer is slightly soluble. According to the solubility chart, when the volume of the solvent is 1000 to 100 to 1000, then it is slightly soluble. Next question is, when 1 gram of solute is soluble in 1000 to 10,000 ml of the solvent, the compound is dash. Whether it is very soluble, freely soluble, very slightly soluble, or sparingly soluble, the correct answer is, it is very slightly soluble. Slightly के बाद आता है very slightly. Okay, so it is 1000 to 10,000, very slightly soluble. Next question is, when 1 gram of solute is soluble in more than 10,000 milliliter of the solvent, the compound is dash. Whether it is very soluble, whether it is freely soluble, whether it is insoluble or practically insoluble or sparingly soluble, the correct answer is, it is insoluble or practically insoluble. When the solvent required is more than 10,000, it is insoluble compound in that particular solvent. So, these were the descriptive terms and the relative volume of the solvent or amount of the solvent which is required. Okay. With this, we finish with few of the MCQs from part 1 of identification test. Stay tuned with us for the further parts of identification test MCQs. Bye. Thank you.